Shelby Steele and his son Eli, friends of the show, sat down for an interview with City Journal, product of the Manhattan Institute, to talk about race in America. And by the way, I did a podcast with Shelby Steele. He was on my Counterculture podcast, which you get at amgreatness.com, a couple months ago, talking about the same topic, generally speaking. But a couple of excerpts from this interview of the Steeles, Shelby in particular, that I think are particularly poignant and relevant to our conversation about Claudine Gay's demise at Harvard and Harvard's demise more generally that will outlast Claudine Gay. Shelby Steele says, I was a liberal who grew up in a civil rights family. Everything was about civil rights. I grew up in that milieu, and my family knew people around the country involved in the movement. In high school, I was the president of the local civil rights group, just as King was peaking. From there, I went into the Black Power movement, looking for relevance in my generation. Cultural nationalism, Black Panthers, flew to Africa. I did a lot of really quote-unquote black things. I made the same mistakes my whole race made. I began to think that my identity was my power. It's taken me all these many years to understand the simple truth that you can't lift up people based on identity. Identity doesn't learn algebra and history and develop skills. You can satisfy identity by wearing an afro, which I did. And so he talks about in his book Dream Deferred, which is excellent, in addition to White Guilt and so many of others, but those would be at the top of my list for Steele. So he talks about, in Dream Deferred, I was scratching in that territory for the first time. For someone like me who grew up in segregation to go against the black identity, I was seen as giving the back of my hand to black people. That's how many took it, and many still do. But he talks about the understanding of the understanding of the pitfalls that being identity obsessed presents. And I love that line. Identity doesn't learn algebra. It doesn't learn history. You do,
right,
or don't. One other thing he said, one other excerpt, talking about evil. And this is so timely. It's very banality of evil type of dissertation, Hannah Arendt. But it's so timely because it's about academia and identitarianism there. It's about what we've been discussing for the last hour, the chaos that has been generated through our open border policy and through sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. What does evil mean to you, Steele has asked. To me, it's one word: convenience. People defend things like affirmative action under the rationale of diversity, so we're going to lower standards for blacks and not admit as many Asians. Race is constantly used in the name of good in the act of committing racism. And we're saying such racism is inclusiveness. How insidious evil is. You're saying this person gets into school and this person doesn't because of the color of their skin, and that's diversity? That's inclusiveness? It's just a convenient way for you to get the innocence and moral authority that gives you power. This is the key. The innocence and moral authority. That's what people are searching for. I'm innocent. I have moral authority. I'm a good person. And I will take the path of least resistance to be able to access those descriptions so that I can inveigh on everything under the sun. That's what hate has no home here is. Back to Steele. It's just a convenient way for you to get the innocence and moral authority that gives you power. It's a hell of a problem in a huge, complex society like America. Evil is everywhere, waiting around the corner, advocating for itself as a moral convenience that will make you a better person. Evil fascinates me in that sense. It's always ironic. It's sweetly insidious. It makes you feel good and gives you that sense of innocence. I stood up against Shelby Steele, for example. So you become a cheerleader for evil thinking you're helping. In the long run, we see evil for what it is, but it usually has done a lot of damage by that point. Indeed. So good. So on point. Peter Wood, National Association of Scholars, joins us now. Peter, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, isn't that those excerpts I read from Steele, and I know you're very familiar with him and his work, I mean, he just sticks to landing. That's exactly what we see manifests itself on college campuses and everywhere else in American culture where identitarianism rears its evil head.
Yeah, I think he nails it. The identitarian movement is one of trying to regain virginity or something. It isn't going to happen, but people grasp onto the notion that this is absolution for all their sins, real and imaginary, and they can feel moral superiority. That's what we've taught a generation is their highest value, to feel superior.
And the other thing, the fact his response to what is evil to you, and he just says in one word, convenience, and that's the thing that's maybe not emphasized enough, right? I mean, all we're always taught, nothing comes without hard work. But this is also lazy. It's just so convenient, and you should question something that comes to you this easily.
Well, it's a nice way to tie up why Claudine Gay was both a leader of the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement and a serial plagiarist. It was convenient just to copy down what other people had said and put her name on it. So the element of moral convenience is very strong in her case.
And it continued, sorry to interrupt, but it continued right out the door, didn't it? In her fare thee well statement, she does the whole, I'm being under attack by those who hold racial animus against me.
Right, not the least whisper of contrition or idea that she was to be held responsible for anything. She's just a victim.
Yeah, but then they're trying to redefine what plagiarism is. You had Mark Egan, who is a reporter for CNN, called it sloppy attribution. What's your response?
Well, I mean, it's silly. Harvard's initial cover-up was that she had failed to adequately cite sources. Well, that's what plagiarism is. When you steal somebody else's words, put your name on it, maybe change a word here or two to try to make it look clean. But the fact is that this is an out-and-out act of dishonesty that harms the whole intellectual community, the people who count on the authority of a writer to use her own words and to present ideas that she's thought through. When you're stealing somebody else's language, you're not thinking anything through. You're simply being a human Xerox machine.
Right, and it seems like she was in part undone by other academics who took not too kindly to attempts to characterize Claudine Gay's plagiarism as duplicative language, or as Amy mentioned, sloppy attribution, or the lack thereof, more accurately. And so when, Carol Swain is coming forward and other academics are coming forward as they're seeing the evidence presented and saying, well, wait a second, I can't be party to just turning a blind eye to this and still maintain any academic integrity, then that sort of became a millstone around her neck, didn't it?
Right. And every time Harvard thought that they had plugged the leaks in the dike and they'd covered all the instances, then would come forward another 5, 6, 7, 8 more instances of plagiarism. And then other pieces of dishonesty began to show up. There is now evidence that she fabricated data in one of her early papers, and she refused to share the data behind her claims with others. She used a statistical method that has been discredited long after it had been known to be discredited. So basically, she cut corners wherever she encountered corners. This was not an innocent person who just forgot to write her footnotes. She was conniving at this. The fact that she altered the quotations or the plagiarized passages in small ways is evidence that she knew what she was doing. This wasn't, I forgot the footnote. This was, I have disguised this to make it look like my own.
I'm struggling to be too celebratory over the end of Liz McGill at Penn and the end of Claudine Gay at Harvard, at least in the president's role. Should I be less jaded when it comes to these events?
Oh, no, you should be more jaded. Because,
you don't have to tell him twice.
Yeah, right.
Liz McGill and Claudine Gay didn't just stumble into their roles as president. They were appointed by boards who had every opportunity to know who they were appointing. In Gay's case, she had been making strong public announcements from August of 2020 onward about her revolutionary agenda, how she was going to transform Harvard into a place that was all DEI all the time. And the board stood behind that right through her congressional testimony, where she told Stefanik she had considered context when you call for genocide. The fact is that the rot here is not just in the figurehead presidents, it's in the people who put them in that position and endorse them. And in Gay's case, there were over 700 Harvard faculty members who signed on to a letter saying, no, she should not be held accountable for her views on genocide and her anti-Semitism and so on. So we're in an institution that has really deep problems, and getting rid of Gay is not going to solve them. The same thing at Penn. I think McGill goes, but the person that they put in her place is not that much better.
Well, do you think the Jewish students at Penn and at Harvard feel a little bit safer now, or feel vindicated in some way?
I think that there's mixed feelings here. They're vindicated in that their complaints have now been heard, but vindicated in the sense has the institution taken seriously its commitment to keeping them safe against other students who believe that Hamas is just a liberty-loving, back-to-the-land group. No, those other students are still there, and they're still full of hatred and ready to come down on the Jews anytime they can. So, I'm not Jewish, but if I were a Jewish student at Harvard, I'd certainly be looking for greater solace than I've gotten so far.
Yeah, maybe they need a special portal for Jewish students like they have for NCAA athletes to quickly move from one college to another. Peter Wood, president of the National Association of Scholars. Peter, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a multi-state PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group, as well as other teaching hospitals around the nation. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 25-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551.
Man, you talk about hitting a grand slam, just feeling just incredible. And I haven't felt this great in years. I'm 52, and with these, wow. And I just appreciate, I'm impressed. I've never felt this great. I just want to say thank you to you guys.
Honey, I am like a different woman. Finally one day I kept seeing that commercial, and I said, what the heck? What do I got to lose? I started feeling a little bit better. So I got my sister on them. I got my daughter on them. I can't say enough about them. I really can't. Those commercials that you all do is the truth.
Step into the new year with a new you. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-2468751 and get this exclusive holiday offer by using discount code Chicago.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations